Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sorry because I was sort of a non sequitur. I brought up Cusack because I just read a blog entry that he wrote at Huffington Post where he's really calling the Republicans out. And yet it's kind of muddled and confused, and it's capitalism's fault at the end and that kind of thing. And what do you think is the best strategy for us? You know, when I interviewed Sheldon Richman not too long ago, he said he thinks we're almost back to square one now with this financial crisis, where it's basically might as well be 29 with everybody blaming the excesses of capitalism. This all just proves the need for an even more massive regulatory state to smooth out the booms and busts. How do we confront that, Lew?
Well, you know, I have to disagree. I think we're in a far better position than our forebears were in 1929. There were relatively few people, talking about what had happened in 29, why there was a boom and a bust, and what not to do, and why what Hoover and Roosevelt was doing was wrong. But there were relatively few. There are far more people who understand what's going on today. There are far more people, despite the lies of the media, who understand this is hardly, the U.S. system is hardly an example of laissez-faire capitalism, that we live in a very regulated fascist economy, and that it's had certain effects. There are far more people who are suspicious of the Federal Reserve, thanks to Ron Paul and all the work of the great men of the past, Mises and Rothbard and Hazlitt and the rest of them. We have, in fact, we're in a far, far better position than libertarians were in the 1930s. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people understand this now. So does that mean that, we can stop them from doing what they want to do? That's another question. But we are not back to square one. We're about square 1,001. We're doing far better. Far more people understand real economics. Far more people understand libertarianism. And it's a reason, I think, to have hope, not to just think that the whole world is over, the sky's coming down. We can use a crisis situation, the economic crisis, all the horrible things that the government has been doing to us and the Fed have been doing to us, and what these results, use it to educate people, to anger people, to make sure they're angry at the right institutions, to try to get a real movement for change. And it's an opening. Any crisis is an opening because the climate of opinion weakens. The government propaganda weakens. It's why the government doesn't actually like stuff like this, even though they're very happy to take advantage of it and to expand their power, as Bob Higgs always points out in a crisis. Still, they don't like these kinds of crises because they can be problems for the state. So I think people are now, have their ears open to hearing about a gold standard, to hearing about what's wrong with the central bank. We saw this in the Ron Paul movement. So I think we're just much, much better off than the poor old right libertarians of so many years ago.
Yeah, well, and really the Ron Paul revolution is a great part of that, isn't it? Too bad the stock market crash wasn't a year ago.
Well, and also everything might have been very different. I was just thinking back the other day. Ron was just here at the Mises Institute to speak at our supporter summit over the weekend, and I was reminiscing with him about the Dearborn, Michigan debate, which I think was either March or April 2007, and he was talking the truth, as he always does, about the Fed, about what was coming ahead, why we were headed into economic troubles, and all the rest of them, McCain, Romney, all the rest of the crew, were of course all saying, look, the economy's great, Bush is great, we're just flowers on petals in our path strewn ahead, and anybody is horrible to say there might be anything wrong. There's clearly nothing wrong, and of course Ron, as is always the case, is proven right. They were all proven to be creeps and liars, and you're right. Had the economic crisis hit a year earlier, we might be living in a very different country today.
Yep. Well, still, I appreciate what you say about we are far advanced from where we could be, and the Ludwig von Mises Institute, and of course your personal website, LewRockwell.com, been leading the way, and I'm sure will continue to. Thank you very much for your time on the show today, Lew.
Scott, thank you.
All right, folks, that's Lew Rockwell. He's the author of Speaking of Liberty. He's the founder and president of the Ludwig von Mises Institute. The website is LewRockwell.com. That's L-E-W, Rockwell.com. Anti-state, anti-war, pro-market.